Okay, we're going to look at some radial line development today, and we're going to look at a scalene cone or an oblique cone here, one leaning over. Okay, typically we'll do radial line with a right cone where the apex is right on center. So this is more of an advanced fitting, and the technique is a little bit different on this one as well to match that. So we've got a shop drawing on the board here. And our first order of business is to draft that one out. So we're going to put a full elevation up, we're going to profile it, we're going to do all those things. Okay, so let's get started. So you can see I started with my 6-inch base here. And then our drawing says that the top, which is 3 inches, is an inch over if I drop this point straight down. So that gives us the ability to draw this out here. So that's what I've done. I've come my 6, I came over 1 inch, and then I came up my 4 inches here. And now I can just take my straight edge and join those in. So I'm going to come and connect those together. And I'm going to extend that up so that I can hit my apex point as well. Okay, again, a lot of your drawing will include construction lines, so you can draw this all out to start with construction lines, and then we can go into object lines after that's done. Okay, so I'm going to break this up and I'm going to profile the base here. Just going to give myself a center point, bring that down. Long enough, and I'm gonna profile that, and I'm gonna divide it up into 6 equal spots, and I'm gonna stop there at that point. Okay. We can label that at this point as well, and let's label that 1 to 7. Now, if we were going to label all the way to 12, what we're imagining is this circle is cut off, half it's been flipped over top, right? So if we came 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 on center here, 11, 12, and back to 1. So if I take and rotate all those points down, 7, 8 is going to be here. That's going to join with 6. 9, 10's with 4 on center, 11, and 12, and then back to 1. So we can represent that. We just don't have to. But if you like that labeling, if you like the extra, that's great. Okay, so next step I want to do is I'm going to take my apex and drop it straight down to the base. So I find this point here, and I'm going to drop this all the way down, like that. Again, I need that point. Let me bring it across my horizontal. I need this point because that's where my profile lines are going to come from. We're not going to have a direct, where typically we just bring these straight up. We can't do that anymore because of that lean to it. And this is all about making true lengths. So in a sense, I need to extend these lines a little bit so that I can view them in a somewhere where they are actually a true length. And we'll maybe look at that when we're done here. So what I'm going to do is, from this being my radius point for this step, I'm going to pick up these step offs and I'm going to radiate them up to the baseline. Okay, so I pick up, let me come over here, pick up, 7 is already at the base, so I don't need to do it. Pick up 0.6. Okay, so all those get radiated upwards to the base. And what you can imagine is if I brought this straight up, and let me just visualize that for you a bit. And I'll do it. Grab a different color here. If I was to, and think back on the way that we run radial line, I'm going to grab all these points. From my apex is going to be my distance. We know that the outside edges are true length, so that's okay. We can pick up that one, 7. And for picking up 6, I'm going to grab from here and grab all the way down to this point here. Okay, if I was to have brought this straight up, we'd have a line somewhere in there. And now it's gotten longer based off the way I arced it up. And that's what's created it as a true length. Because we know all these element lines inside here are not true length in an elevation view. Okay, they're coming out towards us, meaning they have some depth. And if they have depth, they're not a true length. Once it's wrapped around and it's at center, it is a true length, and that's where we get 1 and 7, or the outside edges of the cone are true length. But inside here, they're not. So again, if we brought them straight up, they'd be a little bit shorter. So we radiate them up, and that's getting them all back to that center point. So if we imagine looking down on the cone now, and this is kind of a plan view. So imagine this whole cone getting flipped up. And we're looking at this as this point here. And looking down the center of the cone, if we radiate all those lines to center, they become true lengths. So that's sort of the background of our process here. So let's get rid of that one. So now we're ready to develop the pattern. We have what we need. We could draw on these element lines here, and maybe I'll do that. I'll continue with the purple and draw those in so that we can see them all. And they're just going to radiate all the way back to the apex point. Okay, so there's my element lines. They're all true lengths now because of the development portion I did here. So now everything's true length. All I'm going to do is go and swing all of my true lengths out. That's going to create our pattern. So I'm going to scrub off my shop drawing here. And we know from past radial line, we want to get that, we want to develop the true lengths of those lines, and then we swing all those, they're sometimes called slant height in radial line development. So we can now we just create an arbitrary radius point, and now we can swing all of those slant heights. You can also do it right off your pattern here, so I can take and just pick them up right here and swing those outwards. Now I'm just going to move mine over to give it a little bit of clarity so it's not too squished together. I'm going to pick up 7. Okay. So that's all our element lines swung now, or all our slant heights. So let's give ourselves a starting point here. And it's just arbitrary. For the beginning of the pattern, we just need somewhere to start, so that we can find our end point. If we don't have a starting point, then we can't find an end. I'm just going to clean that up a little bit. And let's go, our inside line here was 7. So I'm going to go 7. And then we went to 6, 5, 4, 2. And 1 being our longest line on the outside. So our next step is our step-offs. And that's what establishes the length of the curve that's within our pattern. Now, from old radial line, we took our 1/12 division and we stepped that off our pattern here. But the difference in this one is that the base of the cone is at a 6-inch circumference. So this step off is referencing the actual bottom. And if we thought we could step it off on one of these arcs alone, that one arc doesn't represent the base here. So we have to do it a little bit differently. And what we're going to do is pick up that 1/12 division. And I'm going to start at 7 here, and I'm going to go to 6. Just as our elevation view shows, 7 to 6. And I am literally going to step off from 7 to 6. So I've jumped the line here. And that's different from other radial line we've done. And then I'm going to go to 5 next. And 4. And 3. 2. And 1. And then back up around, because we're going all the way around the backside now. So each step off, I'm moving one of my slant heights. And back to 7, where we started. That becomes my end point to my pattern. So now I can take my straight edge here. And draw that end point in. You can see how it lengthens out, gets longer, and then comes back into its original spot here. And that's what our cone's going to look like. We can tell that it gets from the short side here, and it comes out to the longer line at point 1 here. So our pattern looks like it'll follow suit. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to radiate all these points back to my apex point now. Okay, so there's all our element lines in. Get rid of my extras here. Just for clarity. So that's basically our pattern. Again, let me, remember I don't have a straight edge. You're going to use, or a flexible curve I should say, not a straight edge. So you're going to use your flexible curve to draw on these lines, but just for the sake of clarity, as to see that pattern, I like to draw it in here. Okay, so that's sort of what we're going to look like. Now our last step to finish things off is, because this is a frustum, we're going to take and swing these lines as well. So our top is going to radiate around as the bottom does. So same technique, I'm going to pick up all these are all true lengths because they became true lengths when we radiated them up here. Not just from the base, but from the top as well. So pick up first point. This one's the same thing. We know we started at the short side here, and we can go in and circle all these points. Furthest one out, furthest one out. We know that the long side is on the outside here, point 1, so that looks good. And we should end at the same point we started. And you can label this. But this one's following a simple pattern of over 1, out 1, just as we did here. We started here and we stepped over 1, and we got to the next longest line. Then we stepped over 1 and got to the next longest line. Same as we did here. Again, we can draw that one in. And as always, we're looking for lumps and bumps that they seem to stand out. And there's our pattern. We'd add on any seam or allowances what we require after the fact. So we'd add maybe an elbow lock or a lap seam in here somewhere. So scalene cone by radial line. Thanks.